The Strat Tower dominates the North Las Vegas skyline. At 1,149 feet, it's the tallest freestanding observation tower in the United States. You can see it from everywhere in Vegas. But in November 2025, Golden Entertainment, the company that owns the Strat, just did something desperate. They sold the property to VICI for $1.16 billion in a sale-leaseback deal, with VICI also assuming $426 million in debt. That's $1.6 billion total just to offload the Strat and their other struggling properties. Why? Because Golden Entertainment is drowning. They bought the Strat for $850 million in 2017. They spent $140 million renovating it. They're over-leveraged, bleeding money, and couldn't survive another year of losses. This is the story of how the Strat became a financial anchor, and why even an iconic tower can't save a property that nobody wants to visit. In October 2017, Golden Entertainment acquired American Casino and Entertainment Properties for $850 million. That deal included the Stratosphere, now the Strat, Arizona Charlie's Boulder, Arizona Charlie's Decatur, Aquarius Casino Resort in Laughlin. At closing, Golden's funded total debt was approximately $1 billion, resulting in a net leverage ratio of less than 5.5x. Blake Sartini, Golden's CEO, called it a transformational event that would create a significant gaming portfolio centered around Nevada-based casinos. The bet. The Strat's iconic tower and prime strip location would drive enough revenue to justify the massive debt load. The Stratosphere had a troubled history even before Golden bought it. Filed for bankruptcy less than a year after opening in 1996 due to cost overruns and lower than expected visitation, Carl Icahn's ACEP acquired it out of bankruptcy in 1998. It only became profitable by targeting value-conscious visitors, basically being a cheap budget property. Golden was buying a property with a bankruptcy in its past, a reputation as a last-choice hotel, and a location at the far north end of the Strip where tourists don't walk. But Sartini saw potential. The North Strip was changing. Resorts World was coming. Maybe the Strat could finally become premium. Spoiler, it couldn't. In 2018, Golden announced a $140 million renovation of the Stratosphere. The plan? Rebrand it as the Strat, modernize everything, and compete with mid-tier strip properties. The renovation included all hotel rooms redesigned, new restaurants, top of the world, BLVD and main tap house, refreshed casino floor, pool renovation. The resort was officially rebranded as the Strat Hotel, Casino and Sky Pod in January 2020. Total investment so far, $850 million purchase plus $140 million renovation equals $990 million, almost $1 billion. The renovation completed in 2020, right as COVID hit. The Strat closed. When it reopened, tourism was down. The property that relied on budget-conscious visitors suddenly faced an economic crisis where those visitors disappeared. Renovations at the Strat took their toll on company profits, with Golden losing about $40 million in revenue directly due to renovation that eliminated 50,000 potential room nights for guests. Even after reopening, the Strat couldn't fill rooms at profitable rates. Here's the fundamental issue. You can usually book a room at the Strat for under $50, often around $20. $20 for a strip property. At those rates, how do you service debt on $1 billion investment? You don't. Golden tried raising prices after renovations. Charles Protel, CFO, said rooms were going for $20 to $25 more per night after renovations. But that still put rooms at $50 to $75 per night. Budget tier pricing. The Strat is caught in a trap. Charge too little and you can't cover costs. Charge too much and tourists go elsewhere because you're at the far north end of the Strip. Frank Riolo, The CEO of AREP said in 2011, "It's not downtown, it's not the Strip, and it's not a locals property. We try to run it as a hybrid." That's the problem. The Strat is in no man's land. It's technically on Las Vegas Boulevard, but it's a 20-minute walk from Wynn Encore. And tourists don't walk that far in Vegas heat. There's nothing between the Strat and the rest of the Strip except parking lots and the shuttered Fontainebleau, which took 14 years to finally open. Clark County considers the Strat to be several blocks north of the Strip, and notes the Strip does not officially extend into city limits. Even Resorts World and Fontainebleau, which opened recently to the south of the Strat, haven't helped. Those properties are self-contained. Guests stay there. They don't walk up to the Strat. The Strat competes with Resorts World, $4.3 billion, opened 2021. Brand new Asian luxury theme, south of the Strat, Fontainebleau, $3.7 billion, opened 2023. Massive renovation, premium brand, south of the Strat, Wynn Encore. Actual luxury, established brand, south of the Strat, Circus, cheaper budget option. Family-friendly, south of the Strat. The Strat is literally the northernmost property. It's the last option. And once you're that far north, why not just stay downtown at Fremont Street for even cheaper? Golden Entertainment realized they were over-leveraged, so they started selling assets. 2023, sold Rocky Gap Casino Resort in Maryland for $260 million. Sold Nevada and Montana slot routes to J&J Ventures for $322.5 million. Most of the money from the Rocky Gap sale, $175 million, was used to repay loans, part of refinancing the company's debt. They were liquidating assets just to stay afloat. In first quarter 2024, Golden Entertainment reported revenue of $174 million compared to $278 million the previous year, after selling off businesses. CFO Charles Protel said labor costs are playing a role in the earnings decline, and average prices for rooms at the Strat are down 8%. Rooms getting cheaper while costs go up. That's a death spiral. Arizona Charlie's Boulder, one of Golden's locals properties, has taken the biggest hit, according to officials. The locals market was dying, the Strat was struggling, and Golden was running out of options. On November 7, 2025, Golden Entertainment announced a $1.16 billion deal. VICI Properties would buy the Strat and 6 other Golden properties. VICI also agreed to assume and repay up to $426 million of Golden's outstanding debt. That's $1.6 billion total to get out from under these properties. Blake Sartini is taking Golden Entertainment private, leasing back the properties from VICI under a 30-year master lease with an initial rent payment of $87 million per year. Let me be clear, this is not a victory. This is survival. Golden is selling everything to VIC and then paying $87 million per year in rent. They no longer own the Strat. They just operate it and pay rent to VICI. If the Strat fails, Golden walks away, and VICI is stuck with an empty building. The Strat Tower is iconic. The rides are thrilling. The views are spectacular. Sky Jump is a unique attraction, but none of that drives hotel bookings. Tourists visit the tower. They pay $20 to $30 for the observation deck. They take photos, and then they leave and stay at Wynn or Bellagio. The tower is a tourist attraction, not a hotel amenity. It doesn't create repeat customers or fill rooms. CFO Charles Protel said in 2019 that if the Strat reached 90% occupancy, like it had in 2019, it would generate an additional $30 million in revenue and nearly $20 million in adjusted earnings. But to get 90% occupancy, they have to charge $20 to $50 per night. At those rates, $20 million in earnings doesn't cover the debt service on a billion-dollar investment. The math doesn't work. The property can't charge enough to be profitable without pricing itself out of its target market. At closing of the 2017 acquisition, Golden anticipated funded total debt of approximately $1 billion with a net leverage ratio of less than 5.5x. That's already high leverage. Then, they spent $140 million on renovations. Then they bought more properties. Then COVID hit. Then tourism declined. Now they're selling to VICI and paying $87 million per year in rent. That's more than the property can sustainably generate. The Strat will stay open. VICI wants rent. Sartini will keep operating it. But it will never be more than a budget property at the far north end of the Strip. It will fill with overflow when everywhere else is booked. It will attract budget tourists who don't care about location. The resort became profitable under Econ's ownership by targeting value-conscious visitors. That's still the only model that works. Golden spent $990 million trying to make it something more. It didn't work. Now Sartini pays $87 million per year to VICI. That rent goes up 2% annually, starting in year 3. If the Strat doesn't generate enough profit to cover rent plus operating costs, Sartini loses money. But he can't walk away. He signed a 30-year lease. And if he does walk away, VICI is stuck with a property that nobody wants to buy. This is the same trap Caesars and MGM are in. They sold their real estate and now pay rent on properties they used to own. They have no long-term incentive to invest because they don't own the buildings. The Strat's $1.3 billion debt disaster is a story of over-leveraging, bad timing, and a fundamentally flawed property. Golden Entertainment paid $850 million for the Strat. They spent $140 million renovating it. They've now sold it to VICI for $1.16 billion, with VICI assuming $426 million in debt, a total value of $1.6 billion. Have you stayed at the Strat? Is the tower worth visiting even if you don't stay there? Let me know in the comments.